Hey there, fourth grade, Mrs. Hollenberg here, and today in music class, we are going to be learning about our third orchestra family. So far, you have learned about your strings, you've learned about your brass. Today, we are going to be learning about our woodwind instruments, okay? So before we get started, you should have received a little foldable paper. So before we get started learning about our woodwind instruments, I'm going to show a quick clip from Mrs. Shade over at Shaw Elementary to show you how to fold it if you haven't done so already for the other two instrument families. So let's watch that real quick and then we'll get started.
Hi third graders, I'm going to show you how to prepare your instrument family foldable. You've got a piece of paper that looks like this, and at the top there are all these boxes saying what is vibrating to create sounds, and at the bottom there's just a list of instruments, and on the back it's just blank. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take this paper and you're going to fold it in half, long ways, otherwise known as, hot dog style. Fold it in half so that all of the writing is on the inside. It's blank on the outsides, and then when you open it up, the writing's on the inside. So now you're going to take your piece of paper, open it back up, and you are going to cut along these black lines here only until where you folded. So take my scissors, and I'm cutting the flaps. So notice I didn't cut the whole way through, I just cut that part. Got it? So now I've got a piece of paper with 4 flaps. And when I fold this one up, it says, what is vibrating to create sound? And at the bottom it says instruments. Now, on each one of these flaps, we're going to write the name of the instrument families. So, take a pencil, a pen, or a crayon, or whatever. I'm using a marker. And on the first flap, you are going to write brass. On the second flap, you're going to write strings. On the third, you're going to write percussion. And on the fourth, you're going to write woodwinds. So when you're done, it should look like this. So now you can keep track of what you're doing on these different flaps. But don't use a marker, use a pencil so it doesn't bleed through. Anyway, use a pencil, not a marker, so it doesn't bleed through the paper. But now you can just flip these up and keep track of your different instruments here. There you
go. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Shade, for that. So hopefully you have that all ready to go so we can start learning about our woodwind instruments. Let me share my screen real quick. There we go. And slide. Here we go. All right, so like said before, we are learning about woodwind instruments. No, they are not made out of wood. So here is our first instrument. This is going to be called the flute. So our flute is kind of the odd one out because most of our woodwind instruments use something called a reed on the mouthpiece. So the mouthpiece is obviously what goes in your mouth so you can blow air through it to create the sound. So our reed is looks like it's about this big. It's not quite big, but it is a little piece of wood that vibrates when you are blowing the air on it so that it can help create the sound. Now, our flute doesn't have that one. As you can see my mouse? There we go. The mouthpiece is up here, and it has this little hole that you're going to blow the air into. So this is kind of the only one that does not have our reed on it or the wood in the woodwind instruments. So our flute is actually one of the higher sounding instruments. We have another one, if you want to look up, called the piccolo, not a pickle, piccolo. Our piccolo is a little bit smaller and it has a very, very high pitched sound. So this is a little bit bigger than that. So this is going to be our flute. And how you play, like I said, you're going to blow the air into the mouthpiece up here, and then all these little buttons down here, you're going to press to create the different pitches and the different sounds. That is our flute. All right, moving on, our clarinet. This one might look familiar if you are a fan of SpongeBob, because every year I always have someone go, "That's the instrument Squidward plays." So yes, Squidward does play the clarinet. So our clarinet, it kind of looks similar to our flute because it has, again, all these little buttons that you press down or holes here. And if you remember last year when you played your recorder, it was kind of looked a little similar, a little bit smaller though. Now, up here on the mouthpiece, you can't see it, but on the other side of the mouthpiece, that's where the reed would be going. And that's actually what these two little screws here are for, is to hold the reed in place so that you can play the instrument. Okay. Another one that sometimes people confuse the name of is an oboe, not an elbow, an oboe. Our oboe, similar concept. We have all these little buttons here that you press down to change the pitch. Now this one, where you blow the air into, is up here again. This one's a little bit different. Our oboe and our next instrument we're going to learn about, the bassoon, is what's called a double reed instrument. So as you may have guessed it, it has not one, but two reeds. So instead of the, like on the clarinet, the reed vibrating against the mouthpiece, these two reeds vibrate kind of against each other. So, and you can see up here, tiny little double reed. So that's our oboe. Bassoon, one of the largest woodwind instruments. We have, again, our double reed, which is going to be right here. And this guy, he's a big guy. So we have a lot of different keys here to press down to change the pitch. And because it's a larger instrument, that means it's going to have a lower sound. So the bassoon has our lowest sound out of the ones we're going to talk about today. And last one, this is called a saxophone. This is our alto saxophone, to be precise. This only has, this is a single reed, so this is kind of like a clarinet where the reed will vibrate against the mouthpiece. And again, same deal, all these different keys, all these different buttons, you press down to create different pitches, and then the sound comes out of, this is called the bell of an instrument. Okay, all right, so let me stop sharing real quick. There we go. So what we're going to do now is, in the description for the video below is going to be a link to a video where you can hear all of those instruments, except for the saxophone. You'll see why in a little bit. But all the first few instruments that we talked about playing, so you've seen what they look like. Now you're going to be able to hear what they sound like. So they're going to play by themselves first, and then you're going to hear what the whole woodwind family sounds like together. So again, look in the description below and click on that link, and I'll see you for the next one. Oh, love hearing them all play together. It just sounds so cool. All right, so for our next activity, you are going to need a sheet of paper and a pencil or pen. And you are going to, you don't have to write your name on it, but you're going to number that piece of paper from 1 to 5. So 1 to 5. So take a second to do that. And this game is going to be called, Is It a Woodwind Instrument? So what's going to happen is, in a second, I'm going to be showing you a picture of an instrument. And all you're going to do is, on your piece of paper, you're going to write yes or no. So yes, it is a woodwind instrument, or no, it's a part of one of the other orchestra families, okay? So again, you need a sheet of paper and a pencil or a pen, and number that paper from 1 to 5. And let me get my first instrument up here. Okay, so here is our first instrument. So you're either gonna write yes, it's a woodwind instrument, or no. And you get bonus points if you can name the instrument, regardless of what family it's from. So yes or no. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So yes or no, is this a woodwind instrument? Think about what we talked about. Think about the pictures we saw. Again, bonus points if you can name it. All right, so that was number 2. Moving on to number 3. Yes or no? Is it a woodwind instrument? This one might look familiar. Some of your older siblings or friends might play this one. Okay, number 4. Yes or no? Is it a woodwind instrument? Might have seen this one at football games if you watch the marching band. All right, and our last one, I'm going to skip ahead down to the bottom here. Number 5, is it a woodwind instrument? Yes or no? Okay, so let's go over the answers real quick for those 5 questions. I'm going to scroll back up to the top here. Yes or no, is this a woodwind instrument? The answer is no. This is actually our harp. And as you can tell from looking at the picture, it has a bunch of strings. So therefore, it would be in the string family. So this is our harp. So you should have no for number 1. Number 2. Answer is yes. This is a woodwind instrument. This is our bassoon, our very low sounding woodwind instrument. So you should have yes for number 2. Number 3. Is it a woodwind instrument? It has strings, so the answer is no. This is a stringed instrument. This is actually a picture of a viola. So like I said, some of your older siblings or some of your older classmates might have played this. So that is no. Number 4. Again, the answer is no. These are our cymbals. And like I said, if you ever go to one of the high school's football games, you would see these being played in the marching band. And last one, go scroll down to the bottom here. Number 5. Answer is yes, that is a woodwind instrument. And this is our clarinet. So this is the one that all my kids always say that Squidward plays. All right. So give yourself a little check or gold star or smiley face, whatever you would like if you got a high score. And if you didn't, that's cool too. This is why we're learning. All right, let me stop sharing real quick. All right, next activity. Again, if you look in the description below, there should be a link to a second video. This is just going to be having a saxophone be played for you because that one was not shown in our first orchestra video. So real quick, just take a little brain break and have a listen to our saxophone, and then I'll meet you back for our last activity for today's lesson. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed some lovely saxophone playing. Okay, last activity for today, 4th grade, is we're going to play a little game. This is called Instrument Crane. So let me get that up real quick. So in our game, Instrument Crane, as you can see, there is a big construction crane here. And our little construction guy, he is holding a picture of an instrument. And behind the instrument, it has the name. So this is our violin. Our job is to place the instrument in the correct box down here. So we have our 4 instrument families. We have our brass, our woodwind, which we learned about today, string, and then the one you'll learn about next time is the percussion family. So we're going to do a few together. I have it on teacher mode right now. So we're going to do a few together, and then we're going to go to game mode, which is going to be kind of fun. So obviously, since we're doing this virtually, if you want, you can either write down your answers on the piece of paper we used earlier, or you can just call it out. It's all good. All right, so with our violin, I'll give you just a few seconds. Which instrument family do you think we are going to place it in? If you said string, you are correct. Oh, turn this up so you can hear it a little bit better. So this is our soprano saxophone. The saxophone that I showed you earlier, that was called an alto saxophone. So it would still be in the same family. So which one do you think it is? It's going to be in our woodwind family. I can't give you a clue because I said we talked about it today. Just for fun, I want to show you what happens if I click on the wrong. So it would be in our woodwind. All right, so it's a little hard to see the name behind it, but this is called our timpani. Timpani. Which one do we think our timpani is in? This one's a little tricky because we haven't you haven't learned about this instrument family yet, but this is actually going to be in the percussion family. Let's do maybe two more and then we'll go to game mode. Very majestic sound. So our trombone is going to be in the brass family. Oh, I already had this one. Sometimes it repeats, that's okay. So our timpani again, already said that's in our percussion family. This works out because I was just looking and seeing that all the boxes are filled except for one. So we talked about our flute today, so that's going to be in the woodwind family. All right, now, okay, just making sure it's done playing. Now I'm going to switch over real quick just for fun for game mode. And what's going to happen in game mode is this guy it's going to be timed. So he's going to show our instrument and we have to, as quickly as possible, try to figure out which one of those 4 instrument families it goes to. Now, again, obviously because we're doing this virtually, I'm not going to be able to wait to see if you have the correct answer. So just call it out at home and see if you are correct. Okay, we'll try. I think it has it set for a minute, so we'll see how many we can get in that 60 seconds. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. All right, our bassoon. That's gonna be in our woodwind family. We talked about that today. Ooh. Tenor saxophone, same family as our alto saxophone, so that's gonna be again in our woodwind. Ooh. One of my favorite instruments, our viola. It has strings, so it's going to be in the string family. Ooh. Our piccolo. I talked about this briefly today, but this is our smallest woodwind instrument. Cymbals. We showed that today, and we said it is not woodwind, it is percussion. Ooh. Baritone saxophone, another form of a saxophone, so it's going to be in the woodwind family. Ah, we got 6. Nice job. Okay, so let me stop sharing. So if you would like, when you're at home, you can kind of play a similar game where you can either find a picture online of an instrument, show it to your family or your class or your other classmates and say, hey, what instrument family do you think this is going to be in? Or you can even give some clues like this instrument has strings and it begins with the letter C. That'd be our cello. So you can do that with the 3 instrument families we've learned about so far, our brass, our woodwinds, and our string instruments. All right, 4th grade, that is it for me today. Like I said, next time you will be learning about our 4th instrument family, which is going to be our percussion. So have fun with that. Hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you next time.